This video is to show you how to do the simple Tunisian coaster. These coasters are small enough that they can be worked with a regular crochet hook. You don't need a Tunisian crochet hook. The hook I'm using is a 5mm H8 hook. And I'm using worsted weight cotton yarn by Lily Sugar and Cream. The intent of this project is to provide practice in making a perfect square with the Tunisian Simple Stitch. This is in preparation for working the Tunisian Pinwheel Square pattern, which is available in my Ravelry and Etsy stores. Getting the correct ratio of stitch height to stitch width is crucial for any two-color square in Tunisian Simple Stitch where the colors are separated along the diagonal. Achieving this ratio correctly does take some practice. Let me show you examples of different results based on different types of tension. The square on the left's actually a rectangle. The piece on the left is a rectangle, and this piece was worked with a loose tension on the forward pass, which is the one that provides the vertical bars, and a less loose tension on the return pass, which produces the horizontal stitches. On the other hand, this square, it is a perfect square. I measured it and it's 3 inches by 3 inches, was worked with a less loose, a tighter tension on the forward pass, so we have much shorter vertical bars. See the difference in the sizes of the vertical bars? And it was also worked on the return pass with a wider stitch or a looser tension. Now, I just want to clarify that this particular type of tension is wonderful for certain projects. It's great for scarves, sweaters, blankets, because it's supple, it's soft, loose, and it gives you very nice drape. However, for this pattern, we want to accomplish a denser stitch, and we definitely want to accomplish a perfect square where all the sides equal the same number. Notice that the dense Tunisian crochet can be used for a hot pad. In fact, this is a larger piece that is potentially great for a hot pad because it's so thick and dense. Now let me show you why it's important to get your tension correct on this project. Actually, the simple Tunisian coaster is nothing more than a gauge swatch with a couple of rounds of single crochet added. But the gauge swatch of the simple coaster, which is just a solid color with 2 border rounds, is preparing you to accomplish a perfect square when you have 2 colors that are divided along the diagonal of the square. The square on the left is really not a perfect square. It's an odd shape. Can you see that along the diagonal there's it's a greater measurement? It's stretched out. You see how it's stretched out along the diagonal compared to the square? This is the result, this wonky square is the result of using the looser tension on the forward pass and the tighter tension on the return pass. It gets you a rectangle here and a wonky square here. On the other hand, if you can get your tension such that you can make a perfect square, then you will also have a perfect square when you work the two-color square. The two-color square is worked as a decreasing triangle, and then you turn it this way and work an increasing triangle to finish it off. And it's very important that you get your tension correct, otherwise you will end up with a wonky shape. I am using medium weight, number 4, also called worsted weight yarn, an H8 5mm crochet hook, and we start with a slip knot. Leave a tail of about 6 or 7 inches that you can weave in easily later. Put a slip knot on the hook. Make a chain of 11. Keep the chains very loose because the chains represent the horizontal stitches of this square, and the horizontals need to be wide while the verticals need to be short. Let's see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need 2 more. 10, 11. Make sure the V's are all aiming in the same direction. Now we're going to work on the back of the chain, and you notice on the back of the chain we have bumps. We're going to be working into those bumps. We skip the bump of the first chain, and we now work into the bump of the second chain. Insert your hook under that strand, yarn over, pull up a loop, keep both loops on your hook. Try and keep them short. Go to the next back bump, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, keep the loops short. Continue doing the same process. The first row of any crochet project is always challenging. There's the last chain. Now spread the loops, the stitches, out across your hook so that you can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Exactly right. Now to return, yarn over, pull through 1 loop only to make a chain stitch. Then yarn over and pull through 2 at the same time, and you're going to keep doing this across the row, making sure that you keep those stitches loose. We want the horizontal to be wide, loose, to make the square turn out the correct shape. Okay, we have now accomplished row 1 forward pass and row 1 return pass. Now for row 2 forward pass, we work into the vertical bars. The edge stitch already has a loop coming out of it, so we don't work into that one. We insert our hook sideways under the vertical bar. That's to the left of the hook, the loop that was on our hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Keep these loops short. Go to the next vertical bar, yarn over, pull through, pull up a loop, keep the loops short. Okay, we still have one more to go, but let's make sure we have 10 loops on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now in the 11th stitch, it's a little bit different. There's no vertical bar anymore. Instead, there's an edge stitch, and it's actually a chain stitch. So we are going to insert our hook behind the 2 strands of the V. Yarn over, pull up a loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. Now we'll make another edge stitch, which is a chain. So yarn over and pull through just 1. Now our horizontals, yarn over, pull through 2. Repeat that all the way back to the beginning. Keeping these stitches loose. Okay, we have now accomplished row 2 forward pass and return pass. Now we will do row 3, which is just like row 2. We work into the vertical bars, not the first one because that's an edge stitch, and the loop on our hook is coming out of that edge stitch. So we start with the next vertical bar, insert sideways, yarn over, pull up a loop, keep the loop short. That was the last vertical bar, and we have an edge stitch now. So we go under both strands along the side, yarn over, pull up a loop, and we have now completed row 3 forward pass. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, let's finish row 3. Yarn over and pull through just 1 to make the edge stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, keeping the stitches loose. Now we have completed row 3, forward pass and return pass. Now let's count the rows. We count the rows by looking at the V stitches along the side. We now have 1, 2, 3. 3 V stitches, 3 rows. Continue on with this until you have accomplished 10 rows. Okay, I have now accomplished 10 rows, and here's how I can verify that. I count the V's along the side, not counting the loose loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and number 10 is kind of hiding in there. There he is, number 10. All right, now to close the square, we're going to do a row of slip stitches across the top. So we start just like all the other rows, but we don't finish it that way. Insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, and this time pull the loops up tall and pull the second loop through the first loop, and we've made a slip stitch, which is horizontal. So that's why we need the loops pulled up tall. Let's do that again. Because the loops end up going sideways. And the horizontals need to be wide on this last slip stitch row. This is also important because we're going to be working into these stitches when we make the border. And we don't want them to be so tight that we can't insert our hook. All right, we've worked all but the last stitch, and let's verify that by counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're not counting the loop that's loose. So we're going to accomplish the last stitch not with the hook but with the needle. So I'm cutting the tail at about a length of 6 or 7 inches. I'm pulling the tail out through the last stitch. I'm going to thread this tail into my yarn needle. And find the place where I would have put the hook, which is behind these 2 vertical strands on this edge stitch. And I'm putting my yarn needle through from front to back, pull the yarn through, then I'm putting the yarn needle back into the stitch that I just finished, from front to back only under the back loop, pull the yarn through to the back, and adjust the width of that stitch so that it matches the other stitches along the edge. And let's just count to make sure that we have 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, interestingly, the last row has only 10 stitches, and that's because it's closing off these vertical columns, and the columns are in between the vertical bars, and we have 11 vertical bars, but the columns in between equal 10. Okay, so to finish this square, I am weaving in my ends on the back. Trying to pierce the strands of the yarn, going about an inch in one direction, then returning to a different the other direction, piercing the strands, and go back the original direction. So we've done a zigzag 3 different times. Remove the needle, snip the yarn, and we have woven in that end. Now we'll weave in this other end. And we're weaving in these ends now because the border round that we're going to work next is a contrasting color. So we're not continuing with the same color. So it's easier, in my opinion, to weave in the ends now. And the last you just want your ends to go in 3 different directions so that they don't come loose. Snip the yarn, and you have now accomplished a perfect square. And the square is now ready to add the border rounds. Now let's work the first border round. I start in any corner, pull up a loop, and make a chain. That first chain equals a single crochet. Now we're going to work in the next 9 stitches, a single crochet in each one. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's count the bottoms of the stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And because we are going to make a corner, we put a second single crochet in the last stitch. So we worked into 10 stitches, but the last one we worked 2 single crochets. Okay, so now we'll rotate the square and do the same thing. The first 10, well, we'll work into 10 stitches, a single crochet in each one, and then add a single crochet to the last stitch. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, wait a minute, I'm going to count the bottoms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Okay, now I'm rotating, and Sometimes I count from the end to make sure I start in the correct place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. So we start right there. Okay, I'm ready for the last stitch of the last side. Let's count how many we've done so far. I'm counting the bottoms of the stitches, the V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got one place left to work my last 2 stitches. Okay, and I've already got 1 stitch in that same place. I'm sorry, doesn't look right. Okay, I made a mistake. So I pulled out the last 2 stitches to show you what I did wrong. I need to pull this apart so that you can see these holes. I tried to put my last 2 stitches right there where the first stitch was, and that's wrong on this round. Instead, that is the hole I need to go into. It's really tiny. At least the way I did it, it's tiny. Hopefully it won't be tiny when you do it. But anyway, we need 11 stitches on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And let's check this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, now we've got it. So now I'm going to finish with another needle join. I especially value needle joins in places like this, where there's a contrasting color and we're working on the corner. It just makes a nice, neat finish. Now for the needle join, I'm not working in that. That is the chain stitch we started with. I don't want to work in that. Instead, I work under these 2 strands, the V at the top of the first single crochet. See, doesn't that look nice? And then turn it over, and I'm going to go through just this one loop here, and then take out the needle and tie these 2 strands in a gentle knot, and then tie them again in a more snug knot. Snugger. Is snugger a word? And I can either work over these tails for the next round, or I can weave them in, whatever you prefer. Okay, so let's use a contrasting color for the last border round. And by the way, if you wanted to make this your project, that would work too. But I like having 2 colors for 2 rounds of border for 2 colors. If you want to, you can use a different color, or you can go back to the same color as the major part of the square. So any corner that you want to start, work into the second of the 2 single crochet stitches that are in that corner. Pull up a loop, chain, and that equals a single crochet. Now in the corner stitches on this round, there will be 3 stitches in each corner. But I'm not going to put 3 in here now, I'm putting 2. So the first one is the chain, and the second one is a single crochet. Then I work a single crochet in every stitch to the next corner. Okay, and then in the corner, which is the second of the 2 single crochets in the corner, we work 3 single crochets. Well, I'm back around to the first corner, and look, I forgot to work over my white ends, so I'll just have to weave those in. Okay, so remember I said each corner has 3 single crochets, and we actually have 2 single crochets in the first corner. Actually, the first one is a chain, which counts as a single crochet. So I add 1 more single crochet in that corner, snip, pull, thread it in the needle, and remember we're going to do a needle join, but not in the first chain, but we're doing it in the first single crochet. On the back, tie the tails in a gentle knot and in a snug knot, and all that's left is to weave in the tails. I won't make you watch me do that. There we have our swatch that became a coaster. Thank you for watching.